Right now, the interest rates are at 13%, what we call CBR, central bank rate. It is at 13%. And I want to still answer the question why some people would say that the Kenyan currency is gaining against the USD. If the interest rate is at 13% and the exchange rate between USD and Kenya currency is 1:130, where we were a few months ago before the Kenyan shilling depreciated to 160, that time the CBR rate was around 7.5%. So CBR rate was at 7.5%, and that time, about a year ago, the exchange rate was around 130. Yes. Let's say that.
Yes.
Right now, the exchange rate is at 130, but the CBR rate is 13%.
So it's too early to rejoice.
It is too early to rejoice. What would happen if they reduce it today to 7.5%? The dollar would go back to 160 or even worse. Eurobond is now when we go to the international markets and we borrow from individual citizens of different countries. And the word Eurobond comes when we are borrowing a loan that is denominated in any other currency than our original, our home currency.
Oh.
That's the word Eurobond.
So Eurobond does not mean borrowing money from Europe?
No.
Very good morning to you and a warm welcome to LNS Rebuilding Series. My name is Lynn Ngugi. When I said hatuchezi, guys, I meant it. We are going to fix everything in our lives and we are going to rebuild pretty much, love, relationships, our businesses. And today, the conversation, for me, it's personal because I've heard a lot of things and people keep saying dollar imeshuka, dollar imepanda. And I've always wondered, when we say the dollar is up, what influences that? When we say the dollar is down, what influences that? And what's the impact of all these terms and actions to the common mwananchi? And I found a very incredible person who is going to be breaking these things down for us in a very layman's language. So maybe if you have been, curious about this conversation, it's time for you to get your notebook and pen so that we can be able to get a couple of points down. Alafu tuandike ndio we keep referring and also we are informed. I'm about to let him introduce himself so that he can be able to take us through this particular topic. But before I do that, of course, I want to pay a couple of bills here. Dollar imeshuka ama imepanda, I don't know. So all I know is that I gotta pay bills. So I want to say thank you so much to our amazing partners of today's conversation, Optiven and Maridadi Motors. By now, you know where to go get your beautiful cars. That's at Maridadi Motors. And Sir Eric and the team, they are doing an amazing job. And as I've said here, now they are saying they are the home of great SUVs. And I want you guys to tell me, kama mmepitia hapo mmeona hizo SUVs, and what do you think? Remember to also invest with them. They have a circle there. They also have a driving school and also a car wash called Sparkling, where mnaweza peleka vitu ziende zingarishwe. See, like vitu like gari, carpet na duvet ziende zingarishwe. And as for Optiven, I love the journey that we've done. We've been in a journey together and it's been incredible. So go check out a beautiful retirement property in Vipingo. It's called Ocean View Ridge. Or call the team using the numbers on screen to tell them niambieni mko na shamba wapi pengine. And also to thank you guys. I see you're loving these conversations. I see you're loving these topics. We can only keep going. And remember, aibu kama you are watching this without subscribing, please subscribe. It means a lot to us and it goes a long way into making sure that our work is watched by so many people. And now, of course, without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce himself. Good morning.
Morning to you, Lynn.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Unaona kibarua?
Kibarua iko kubwa.
Halafu dola ikatae.
Dola itakubali.
Itakubali.
Yes,
How
yes.
are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good to really have you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you come very highly recommended.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy you'll be able to help us in these terms and what's
Sure.
going on,
Yes,
or
yes.
what is bound to happen.
Yes, yes.
But before we can even go any further, could
Yes.
you please introduce yourself?
That's true. Thank you very much, Lynn, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Dr. Alex Kamau. I am a business consultant. I work with a company called Lynn Ngugi and Associates. And what we do is we provide business education, business information to various people. One of them is I do that as a lecturer. I lecture at Riara University and Cooperative University of Kenya.
Yes.
I teach business-related courses, that is from taxation to finance courses. And in this other side, when I'm not in the university,
Yes.
I offer practical knowledge to people who are in business, be it starters or people who are already in established businesses like yourself, Lynn. And we help starters to be able to navigate the business landscape, to make them to understand how to market, how to increase their market share, how to comply with regulatory requirements,
Yes.
even for KRA when it comes to matters to do with taxation, and also for issues to do with the existing businesses. We show them, we strategize for them.
Yes.
So that they can have a way of enlarging and expanding their market share, increasing their clientele base, and also increasing their revenue. For instance, you can be my customer.
I have seen that.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
seeing areas that I'm keen in exploring,
Yes, yes, yes.
things
Yes,
I
yes,
might need guidance on.
Yes,
So I
yes.
could actually
Yes.
be your customer.
Yes.
Yes.
And thank you very much for having me.
No, you are most welcome.
Yes.
And also nice to hear that you're talking to people about things like KRA, how
Yes.
to comply. But let me ask you, there's
Yes.
something I've been asking
Yes.
people lately.
Yes, yes.
And a lot of people have been saying doing business in Kenya is
Yes.
hard. First, is that a fact or a myth?
It is a fact, and I will say that to actually what gives me the credibility to advise people is because I've also invested so much in myself in terms of acquiring knowledge. I have 3 degrees. My undergraduate was in economics.
Yeah.
Then I did masters in finance and a postgraduate, a doctorate degree in finance.
Hence the doctor.
Hence the word
Okay.
doctor, the title doctor.
Okay.
Further to that, and I do all this
Yes.
to ensure that I equip myself with knowledge, so that when I guide people, when I consult for people, I am doing that from point of information and understanding. I am also 3 times certified by by ISPAC,
Yes.
Institute of Certified Public of Accountants of Kenya, and the Institute of Certified Secretaries, and Institute of Certified Investment Financial Analyst of Kenya.
Beautiful.
I'm registered and licensed to operate as a business consultant.
All right. So when they say doing business in
Yes.
Kenya is hard,
Yes.
what exactly is happening?
What that means is that currently the cost of doing business is very high. First, from the issue of taxation, and taxation starts from paying taxes like VAT, pay as you earn, corporation tax,
Housing levy,
housing levy, which is actually that's one of the emerging trends in the
Yes.
business landscape. Then we come to business permits, even the issue of paying rent, and the issue of complying with the NHIF, NSSF. So it becomes very hard. And the reason it becomes hard is because when the cost of production is very high, then the business people are forced to also sell their products at a higher price. And when you sell at a higher price, you're not likely to get good demand.
yeah.
And that's why we are seeing even businesses closing shops, because there's no good demand
Yes.
for their goods and services that they have brought to the market.
All right.
And especially when now we are now competing, because now we are using the context of Kenya. If now we use the global space, and we want to compete with the other countries that their tax regime is not as high as Kenyan. The cost of production in their countries is not as high as here, especially like the cost of electricity here. It is very high. Cost of water is very high. So you find if it is Kenya and Uganda, and maybe you are selling some product to Europe, Ugandan product will be more preferred than Kenyan because they are cheaper. Yes, so that's why it becomes a bit hard here in Kenya. That's why people will say it is hard to do business in Kenya, because currently the business environment is not very conducive. We are seeing a situation whereby the government, instead of borrowing externally, it is borrowing domestically. Because when the government borrows domestically, what happens is that the money that the SMEs, you and me, would have gone to the bank to borrow, now the banks actually they are investing with the government by buying treasury bonds. Right now, the treasury bonds, the rate of return of treasury bonds is about 18%. 18%. So even the banks are at a risk of collapsing, because what happens is that most savers, they feel comfortable to save their money with the bank, but the bank would give you a rate of return of about 3 to 5%. Then all of a sudden, the government becomes very aggressive in giving a very attractive rate of return. So and there are people, high net worth individuals, who have saved even millions of money with the bank, now going back to those banks and telling them that we need back our money so that now we can invest in government bonds. So first of all, the bank is denied that resource that it uses to give to borrowers. So you say bank makes more money through lending. So it borrows at a rate of 3% and it lends at a rate of maybe 15%. But now we are seeing a situation that even the banks are struggling to get capital to lend. Why? Is because the government is giving so attractive rates that people and even the banks are preferring to invest with the government. Because the government also is considered as a risk-free investor. When you do business with the government is not likely to default, and therefore you given two opportunities to invest with a bank or to invest with the government, and even if both of them are paying the same rate of return, you would prefer the government. Because there's a concept called modern portfolio theory. It says when you have two projects and they have similar risk, you should choose the project that has got higher return. Similar risk, maybe higher return. So you choose the one with the higher return. And when you have two projects with a similar return, then you choose the one with the lower risk.
Hey, we are getting schooled here. Okay.
Yes. So for instance, you can invest in a car to do a taxi business, and this car you'll buy it at $1 million, and it will give you 5%, let's say 10% rate of return, and the government is telling you, or let's say even 15%, because that's what the government is giving, a very attractive rate of return. You invest $1 million in a car, in a taxi. It will give you a rate of return of 15% per annum. And the government is giving you a similar rate of return. You would, of course, choose the government because the risk is lower there. You will not have cases of the driver saying that today I'm not feeling okay, or the car has a problem, or police are doing this and this. So because of that, we are having a high shortage of liquidity in the market, a high rate of liquidity in the market, because all funds are being channeled to the government. And that's why you will hear people saying, hakuna pesa. And to make the matter worse, like it is the situation right now, we fear inflation. And the inflation, maybe I can decode it down.
Go on.
And inflation is a persistent increase in price of goods and services. That a bread, if last year we were buying a bread at 50 shillings, today we are buying it, let's say, at 80 shillings. So that jump in price is what we call inflation. So the opposite of inflation is deflation, or when now the prices of commodities are coming down. About a month ago, inflation was about 9%. Now it has come down all the way to around 6%. Someone would say it is a good thing that the cost of bread has come from 80 maybe to 50. But it is not necessarily true. Because maybe the cost of bread is coming down because the manufacturers and producers of bread, they are not able to get good demand. There are not many people buying that product. So they have no choice but to reduce the prices of their commodity. So we might be celebrating, yes, this is coming down, this is coming down, this is coming down. But what needs to inform whether we celebrate or not is whether that reduction is informed by some solid fundamentals.
All right.
Some no, because even you remember there's a time we used to have subsidies. So if the price of bread comes from 80 to 60 because of a subsidy, you would not celebrate because at any point that subsidy can be removed.
Yes.
So what we are seeing right now, the prices of commodities are coming down, yes, but the main reason they are coming down is because there's no liquidity in the market. People don't have money. And the reason people don't have money is because government is actually aggressively borrowing from the domestic market.
Wow. Man, I've never understood something so fast like that. Now,
yes.
Let's go to our topic of conversation,
yes.
our conversation today, because again, I think it falls in line with what you're trying to explain now. A lot of us are rejoicing. Those who don't use dollars or any foreign currency, they are reducing, they are celebrating that dollar. Sai dollar imefanya nini? Sai our currency is stronger than the dollar. Here you take us through this in a very layman's language. So could you walk us through what it means to have dollar imeshuka hivyo and what it means to have our currency being so strong and what are the repercussions and is it too early for us to rejoice?
That's a good question, Lynn. Right now we are saying that dollar imeshuka, that the Kenyan currency has appreciated against the dollar. And that is a fact. That is what it is right now. Because at some point, a few months ago, the dollar was exchanging to Kenya shillings at a rate of about 160 shillings. Right now, it is around 130. The reason that has happened is because, or the reason, first of all, why the Kenyan currency had depreciated against the dollar from a level of about 120 shillings last year to a level of 160, from 120 to 160, is because of the pending repayment of the Eurobond that is to be paid by June of this year.
Okay.
What I mean by Eurobond, in the year 2014, the Kenyan government went in the international markets to borrow funds. A country has about three ways of borrowing funds. It can borrow locally, that is domestically. The way we say we go and buy treasury bills, we go and buy treasury bonds, or it can buy from bilateral partners. Bilateral partners is now when a country like Kenya gets some financing from another country, like Japan, like America, like Germany, UK. Those are bilateral partners. Okay. Or it can buy from multilateral partners. Now those are IMF, World Bank. African Development Bank. And the reason we say multilateral is because these are institutions that are owned by more than one country. Like World Bank is not owned by one country. It's owned by all those countries that, about 50 countries that were present in that participated in a conference in the year 1944 after the World War II, when the total world economy was devastated and it had collapsed. Those countries that were there by then, the superpowers, they decided to have a conference and they asked the big question: how do we rebuild our economy? So the World Bank was formed in 1944 and the IMF. So that's why they are called multi. But if it is Kenya and another country, we say bilateral. And now there's another factor that came in later on about now Eurobond. Eurobond is now when we go to the international markets and we borrow from individual citizens of different countries. And the word Eurobond comes when we are borrowing a loan that is denominated in any other currency than our original, our home currency.
Oh.
That's the word Eurobond.
So Eurobond does not mean borrowing money from Europe?
No, no,
I gotta ask all these questions.
Yes.
So si pesa ya Europe tuko nayo.
No.
Okay.
It's any loan that we borrow
Yes.
that is denominated
Yes.
from in a currency that is different from the home currency. So in 2014, we went there and we borrowed for the first time. It was our maiden Eurobond. And again, it's good to understand why it was our maiden Eurobond. It's because that time, for the longest, we have always been categorized as a developing country. And that time, in 2014, our status as a country increased, and we were called a middle-class country or a middle-class economy. And now we qualified now to go to the international markets and to participate to participate in those international market space.
Yes.
And we rolled out our first Eurobond, and we were given $2 billion US. $2 billion. That time, the dollar was exchanging to Kenya shillings at a rate of about 100 shillings.
Yes.
10 years ago. By the time we are coming to repay it, now it is good that the dollar has come down from 160 to 130, but now it is at 130. So if the loan that we borrowed was now we convert the 2 billion USD into Kenya shillings, by then it was equivalent to 200 billion Kenya shillings. Right now it is equivalent to 260 billion Kenya shillings. So now the problem
at 160.
At 160. But of course now we will not just pay the amount that the way we received it. We will pay plus interest. So from 2014, every other year we have been paying 6.75% of that 2 billion USD that we borrowed. So every year we pay 6.75% as interest. The other year, same amount. The other year. Now in 2024, that's when we are supposed to do a bullet payment. Now we pay everything. The principal. We pay everything.
We were given 10 years.
It was a 10-year Eurobond. The problem that so now Kenyan currency start to depreciate as we are nearing June is because there was panic in the market that Kenya may not be able to repay that maiden Eurobond. And it was clear in the market, and we were not ready, because if we had practiced prudent financial management practices, what we would have done as we near 2024, even from year 2014, we would have started saving a bit, like a sinking fund. We know that in 2024, we will pay 2 billion.
Yes.
So in the year after 2014, we saved 10% of it. After 2015, another 10%, another 10%. By the time 10 years are elapsing, we have 100%. We are good. We would not have experienced that panic. But now we are nearing, and everyone knows we have not saved money to repay that Eurobond. And that's why we say the Kenyan shilling weakening against the dollar. Because what happened, the local investors were aware of that fact, and they started holding dollars, waiting for that time the Kenyan government will come trying to buy their dollars. Probably they roll out a treasury bond that is denominated in USD and say we will give you a rate of return of even 20%, 25%, or so basically that's what the people hoarded the dollar
were hoping for.
Or they actually realized that by the time we are coming to buy these $2 billion, what happens when you are buying? It's like you are selling your product. When you are selling your currency.
Yes.
It's good to understand that when we talk about exchange rate, we are exchanging the currency of another country with the currency of our country. So, for instance, if it's someone from, let me use Uganda, who wants to buy something from Kenya, so he will first buy Kenyan currency using the Ugandan shilling. So if Ugandans are buying Kenyan currency in a big way, so it means they are selling their Ugandan shilling to us. So if they are buying so many goods and services from Kenya, it means they will be selling so many Ugandan shillings to us in the process of converting to Kenya shillings. So whenever you sell something in large numbers, that's something, when it is in high supply, it reduces demand and the currency goes down. So that's what was expected to happen, that by the time we are buying dollars, these $2 billion, we'll be buying these dollars using the Kenyan currency. So the Kenyan currency will be taken to the market in large quantities, so that to buy dollars. So by doing that, that would mean that the value of the Kenyan currency would reduce and the dollar would go up. So from when the dollar was converting against Kenya shillings at a rate of 120, people started to realize that the dollar will start to increase because it will be in high demand and people will be releasing Kenya shillings. And now that's why we started to have that weakening of the Kenyan currency against the dollar. So that happened. We moved from 120, 125, 130, that until now we were at 160, and it was headed to 200. If it was not for the government that did that intervention, went into the foreign international markets for the second time to refinance that maiden Eurobond that we had purchased in 2014. And it was not very clear because since COVID started in 2019, no African country had gone to the international markets to obtain a Eurobond. So that door, we felt it was not existing. So to get the $2 billion, we were trying to negotiate with our bilateral partners, with our multilateral partners, to give us $2 billion so that we can pay that debt of $2 billion that we procured in 2014. And the circumstances were not very attractive because you remember IMF and the World Bank, they were giving us hard terms, saying that for us to be able to fund you more, you need to increase taxes in your country.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing, because for me to lend you, I need to understand that you will have the capacity to
pay me back.
Yes, to pay me back.
So increase the tax among your people.
Increase, yes.
So how does that even help us in the first place? Why are we working with organizations that are demanding more tax from us?
I think from their end, I would say it makes sense.
So they don't care about our end; it's their end.
It is it is our government that is that is selling us short.
Yes.
Because instead of practicing proper financial management within our economy, we see a lot of leakages in our economy. Issues to do with corruption, and we hear it every day being called out by Auditor General and Controller of Budget. So it is the mistake, I would say, of our government and not IMF.
Okay.
If IMF has already, for instance, if you come to me, I have already given you 1 million, and you want some more financing, you want to borrow more from me. So I will say, let me have a look at your books of accounts. And then I realize that probably you take your kid to a very high-end school. Probably you live in Runda or Muthaiga. So I tell you, now you need to scale down. You need to go back to Zimmerman. You need to go back to Kawangware. So that you save on what you are spending on housing. And that savings, now I will now understand, will be able to repay my debt. Yes.
So IMF, World Bank, no goes
on. No goes on. They had started that. And if you can also remember, and actually IMF succeeded, because it is the same reason that we saw the VAT on fuel moving from 8% to 16% as they were pushing. And even the pressure that we currently have, where we are talking about privatization of certain government parastatals, it is an agenda of IMF. Because they are saying that, look, the Kenyan government, you are losing so much money maintaining an institution like KQ. We hear every other time the government bailing out those institutions, bailing out some KQ and something like Mumia Sugar, all that. So the government is saying, can you sell out those institutions, make them private, so that you save some money the money that usually go to bail out or to support those institutions. So IMF, World Bank, they were not giving us very good terms, and it was not very convincing that we would make it to get money from them before June.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, Ivory Coast went into the international markets. They raised a Eurobond, and it was very successful. Benin followed, and so Kenya realized, so even since 2019 after COVID, we thought it is not possible to go back to the international markets to float a Eurobond, but we have seen a few other African countries do that and succeed. So we went there. And luckily, we got the money, 1.5 billion USD.
Hold on.
Yes.
So first we got 2 billion.
First we got 2 billion.
USD.
Yes.
That's in 2014.
In 2014.
Then this year,
yes,
we've gotten another
1.5
billion
yes.
USD. Okay.
Yes.
I'll hold my question.
Yes,
go
yes,
on,
yes.
Go on.
Yes, this 1.5 billion. And the reason we are doing that is we are accessing this Eurobond so that we can get the funds to repay that maiden Eurobond. But,
So kidogo, Doc.
Yes.
By the time we are going to get 1.5 billion,
Yes.
how much had we paid back as a country?
We hadn't paid anything.
For 10 years.
For 10 years, what we have been paying is
the
interest. Yes,
So
not the principal.
So we are not even paying something towards the principal.
No, we have not been paying. We have not been paying.
Hey.
And it is true that there was a problem there, because this 1.5 billion USD that we have borrowed right now this time you are wiser. Instead of saying that we'll do a bullet payment at the end of 10 years, we have said at the on 7th year, we will pay 25%. On the 8th year, we will pay another 25%. Then, by the time we are coming to the 10th year, the final year, we will pay now the 50%. At least hapo tumejipanga. Instead of saying we'll do a bullet payment, this time we are wiser. We are saying that by 7th year, we'll pay something. By the 8th year, we'll pay something.
Si 7th year ilishapita, if tumekaa nayo for 10 years.
No, we are talking about now this other Eurobond that we have borrowed
the new
recently.
One?
Yes.
Okay.
This one for 1.5.
Not the OG Eurobond.
No, not the original one.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Because this one is, we are supposed to repay it by 24th June this year. And now the good thing, we have the money with us.
Yes.
And that's why the market has relaxed.
May I have a question?
Yes.
So we just took one loan to repay another?
No, that's the problem. And that's where the problem is, Lynn, because when someone says that our currency is gaining against the dollar, it is a fact, because the facts are undeniable. But what is the truth? The truth is that that gaining is short-term, is not sustainable. It's very artificial, because if it has gained because we have been able to successfully repay that maiden Eurobond without borrowing again to repay it, and we say we had saved some money within the economy, so that debt we have cleared it for good.
Yes.
But that's not the case.
So by the time the government is going to borrow this second one,
yes.
the 1.5 billion,
yes.
people are not expecting that.
Yes.
So is that the reason why the president had said,
yes.
wenye mmeficha dollars,
yes, yes.
and then
to release them,
release the dollars?
Yes.
So it got people unaware.
By surprise. Everyone was caught, even analysts, every other person was caught by surprise. Even financial institutions, they were caught by surprise, because it's an opening that came up. You can understand, Lynn, since 2019 up to 2024, by then, there is no any African country had managed to access the international markets through the Eurobond.
Yes.
Then, and of course, the time is, we are getting very close to the deadline, to June. So, but all of a sudden, in January this year, we see Benin going there. We see Ivory Coast going there. But there's a problem that happened there. Because Benin and Ivory Coast, their economies are not as strong as ours. And they accessed their Eurobond at a lower rate of return than us. As we obtained at 10.7 10.75%, and these other two African countries at an average rate of about 8%.
Aye, why?
I think the reason is because even the government had panicked. Our government had panicked because if we failed to secure that financing, then we were headed to the wrong direction. And I think it does make sense because if you take this cup of water, if you are very, very thirsty, you can buy it at 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
But for someone who is not very thirsty,
they are okay.
It would be very hard to yes, it's even 50 shillings. So the Ivory Coast and Benin, they were okay. They were not under so much pressure. For us, it was a matter of life and death. That's why we said we have a better economy, but we are not going to risk by negotiating a lower rate of return. So we went there and purchased the Eurobond. It was very successful. And now all of a sudden, people who had hoarded dollars, they started to release
them.
And that's where we are.
And the Kenya shilling appreciated.
Appreciated.
So back to this Eurobond.
Yes.
Hey, the loan we took,
yes.
We're going to have to pay it now with this 1.5 billion, right? So we are also going to add 500 million
yes.
on top.
Yes.
Ndio pesa
ijai. Yes.
Tax yetu lazima tutoe.
Yes, or we borrow more domestically.
But now Eurobond,
yes.
when they are giving you one loan,
yes.
why are they giving you a loan without you having finished
yes.
or even tried to repay the other loan? Like if you go to a bank,
yes.
before they top up your loan,
yes.
they have to see some effort
yes.
of you having tried to pay for your
yes.
OG loan,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Now this Eurobond, why are they giving us loan even
yes.
if we had not attempted to pay the other loan?
It's a good question. But you see, actually, from 2014 up to date, our GDP has expanded. Our GDP has expanded. Even our revenue collection has expanded.
Good. On that note,
yes,
here we do
yes,
things in a very layman's language.
Yes.
When you see our GDP has expanded,
yes.
expound.
You
see what I did?
Yes.
Expanded.
Yes.
Expound.
And
to LNS, our GDP,
yes.
what is it?
Yes.
And what do you mean? Where are we matters GDP?
Yes. GDP means gross domestic product.
Yes.
And it is actually the amount of wealth that the citizens of a country, in this case Kenya, creates within a year.
Okay.
So our current GDP, as it is right now, it's about 14 trillion. And it is expected by the end of this year, it will be 16 trillion. So it means every other citizen, whether it is an engineer, a teacher, a doctor, a farmer, any income that you generate within a year, it is added together, and we say this is the amount of wealth that we have created this year. Every other person. So we start if it is so we can follow two methods to calculate GDP. There is one we have income approach or cost approach.
Okay.
If it is cost approach, we can still say whatever the expenses that you have incurred this year, of course that expenses were income to someone else. So we take your expenses, the consumption expenses. For businesses, we take business investments. And for government, we take government spending.
Okay.
Because whatever the government spent within that particular year, it was income to someone else. It could be a contractor who was given a road to do it. It could be a contractor who was asked to build classes or to supply furniture. So GDP, we can compute it using two different methods, the income approach or the cost approach. So whichever that we use, we are supposed to have almost same results.
Okay.
So the GDP of Kenya has increased drastically since the year 2014, and therefore we can be able to demonstrate better paying power than we had in 2014.
Okay.
Because if our GDP was, for instance, 10,000 in 2014, and today is 2 times more, then alone, probably in 2014, we would not have qualified for a loan of 5,000 because our GDP was 10,000. But right now, because it has expanded, we can.
So it's a good thing for a country.
It's a good thing for a country. It's a good thing for a country for GDP to expand. Even our population has also expanded. And even if the Eurobond would have, the markets would have said, no, we don't want to give you this financing because you have not shown any attempt to repay the principal loan. You just want us to roll back that investment or that funds that we had given to you. Just like people who are in employment.
Yes.
You know, the law says that you should not be given a loan facility to an extent that the loan repayments that you are making towards clearing that loan that you have is more than 2/3 of your salary.
Yes.
But we have seen, for instance, if you earn 60,000, you should not be given loan to an extent that will be paying 40,000 per month, and you are only left with 20,000. That's how the law is structured. But that's as far as financial institutions are concerned.
Yes.
You can go to Shylock.
Na nipate na nilipe.
Yes. Because there are some people who are employed by the government, but at the end of the day, even if they are paid 100,000, they take home like 5,000.
Okay.
Because they have obtained loans from all sources that they can be able to access. So what I mean by that, we have many options as a country. We could have gone to China. China, as a bilateral partner, would have given us some money. Other countries like Japan and USA
and Russia.
Yes. So if Eurobond, they would have said no, we could have continued to borrow domestically. We could also have gone to IMF. So because all these lenders are also in business and they want to create a relationship with a country like Kenya, now that Kenya is considered as a main economic hub in Eastern and Southern African region, Sub-Sahara, the Sub-Saharan region. Okay. So they would have easily agreed to lend us. If Eurobond was not successful, what would have happened is that we may have eventually been able to get some financing, but at a very high cost.
Eurobond was our last option.
Eurobond was our last option because if we were to borrow domestically, it would have been very, very expensive.
Because watu walikuwa
wameshikilia dola.
Yes.
And as you can see, these treasury bonds that the government is selling to locally at a rate of return of about 18%, if you compare with the rate that we obtained Eurobond at 10.75%.
The new one is 10.7?
Yes, 10.75.
And the other one was 6.5?
Yes.
6.5?
Yes.
Okay. Pia wamepanda.
Wamepanda.
Okay.
So Eurobond came to save the day.
Yeah.
It came to save the day. Otherwise, the Kenyan currency would have continued to receive a beating. And in the event of a default, now that would have been we would have gone beyond where we would have easily been salvaged.
Yes.
So we wanted by all means possible to ensure that we stop a default from occurring.
Beautiful. I love that. We've gotten that up to this point, but I know the big question, even the people who are watching right now are asking, loan tulipewa ya na tulifanyia what? Because if we got one for 2 billion in 2014, right now, the one we've gotten right now, it's pretty not much in use because we are using it to pay the one we got. So the OG loan we got, 2 billion, what did we use it for?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Actually, I would say it was a good thing that we took that loan. But the problem that happened is that even the Kenyan government by then would have pushed for a longer repayment period.
20 years.
20 years, 30 years, it is possible because you are asking for this financing to fund a long-term project. Like you want to build a house. And
the math is not math.
Yes.
Can I ask us a question? So is this a case of one government taking a loan because they know they will not be the next government to repay the loan?
That also comes into play. But
because why not negotiate 30 years if there is a potential of negotiating for 30 years?
Yes. I think, I don't know, maybe they were too optimistic that they thought in a span of 10 years, the Kenyan economy will have developed, would have expanded and grown, that we'll be able to repay that loan very easily.
So in short, tunanga plan as a country.
No, that's what the
Tunanga
problem is.
mwelekeo.
That's where the problem is.
This is hard to stomach. Kaya, where did the money go?
So the money, actually part of the money was used to do the SGR, because that's when we were doing the SGR to expand our roads network, the bridges, the ports. But now the problem is that even after the forensic audit has been done about that Eurobond money, it is not very clear that all that money was used for the right purpose in terms of being invested in developmental projects, not in recurrent expenditure.
Yes.
Because and it is very sad that I had the controller of budget saying that even her, she's not able to explain that. Because what happens, Lynn, is that Kenyan government operates an account called the Consolidated Fund Account. All our taxes goes to that single account.
Yes.
All our loans, all our
single.
grants, everything goes there. And it's only two people who are supposed to withdraw money from that Consolidated Fund Account. The Treasury, so the PS for Treasury,
yes,
and the controller of budget. Those are the two people who are supposed to sign for any withdrawal to be made. But they are not supposed to withdraw anything without the approval of the parliament. So whenever, yes.
So it's a process.
It's a process. Whenever, at the time we are passing the budget, like we will do by 30th June this year, we will pass two bills. One is the Finance Act. Finance Act is now to say how we will raise revenue for us to finance our expenditure for the next 1 year.
Okay. So
we'll say Finance Act is about saying that we will increase these taxes, we'll do VAT, we'll do pay as you earn, we'll do housing levy.
Yeah.
It shows, so it is signed and approved by Parliament. Because even KRA cannot come to collect money or charge, impose taxes if National Assembly has not approved. So that one is approved.
So just so we are clear,
yes,
all our taxes,
yes,
they go to CFA, the Consolidated
CFA Fund Account.
Fund account.
Yes.
By then, nilisoma hizi vitu ni I'm just trying. I'm just trying so Doc can have some water. Nionyeshe penye economics yangu, you know, they go. So all that goes to the CFA. And
yes.
Two people have access to that.
Yes.
But they also can't authorize anything unless it's passed by
National Assembly through something called the Appropriation Act.
Okay.
So there's an Appropriation Act that says this is how money will be withdrawn for these particular projects.
Okay.
But now, when the money is mixed from all sources, the work of the controller of budget is to confirm before she signs that check or that withdrawal, there is enough money from that consolidated account. Okay? So now this is where the problem is. Probably we have borrowed some money to fund a certain project. Maybe we want to do a certain road, we want to do a certain project, which is developmental in nature, not recurrent in nature. But so the money is borrowed and it is there. But now the Treasury wants to pay teachers. The Treasury wants to pay civil servants. And the money is mixed. So the controller of budget will just confirm whether we have enough funds in that account. So whether it is fund meant for other projects
or not,
whether as long as the money is enough to pay for that expense that is required to be paid, that's her work. She will sign. So that's how we end up using some money meant for other projects for consumption purposes.
But now, see, this is an account.
Yes.
Why can't we have different, this is the main account.
Yes.
Why can't we have sub-accounts? This is for development. This is for teachers. This is for health. Why are we mixing things like Githeri?
Yeah, no, that's where the problem is.
Even in my own bank account, I'm allowed to have a couple of accounts. hapo chini ya my main
Yes,
my
yes,
main,
yes.
like now for example, I have a dollar account,
Yes, yes.
I have a euro account, you have your savings account,
Yes, yes.
you have your fixed account. You don't go opening different accounts just so you can, yes, you can open. The numbers are not the same, but it can fall under one umbrella.
Yes, yes.
So why are we mixing things in that CFA like Githeri?
Yeah, and I've seen you are very deep rooted in terms of economics, as you have said. That's a very deep question.
Wasinione hivi. Kama si show, me I would be there assisting you do the math.
Yes.
No,
Wow,
like
wow.
is it
Yes.
so hard to have different two things going on so that you don't sign?
Yes.
Don't touch. Kama ni at Chaz, don't touch the development fee.
Yes. I think the government knows that, but sometimes when there is too much transparency and accountability, people don't like that. So sometimes people are able to do things. There are things when there is chaos, when there is no proper order, so that you can, when asked a question, you can. Yes. But that's what even the Office of the Control of Budget is pushing or proposing, that there should be, when we get some financing or a loan to do a certain project,
put it there,
so that when we withdraw, we are only withdrawing from there to go to the intended project, but not to mix everything. So we have a huge challenge. And again, maybe when we are still on the issue of the control of budget, she would say that her office is not as independent as it is supposed to be, because sometimes when such a person makes noise, and they are supposed to be independent to oversight what the government is doing with the public resources, including public money. But sometimes they fear that once you raise your voice, your budget is likely to be curtailed. So for you to be independent, the way we have ring-fenced the amount of money that we send to the counties. We say it is not supposed to be less than 15% of the budget. Even such an office should be ring-fenced. The budget for that office should be ring-fenced. We say maybe it's supposed to be given 0.01 of the budget, whether so that office is not at the mercies of the executive. That when this office makes so much noise when oversighting us, then we do that. We cut their legs. So
But don't you think it should be independent though? Because me, if I'm the president and I want 20 billion, be like 20 billion?
Yes.
Because you are the water bishana na mdosi wako. Like, are you going to argue with your boss like they will? So if I don't know, but the math it make sense, because the math is not mathing. Because I feel like it should just be an independent body.
Yes.
So that they don't feel inferior to other people. I feel so.
And theoretically they are, but practically are they? Even theoretically,
Kenya has become a country of theories.
Theoretically they are, but practically are they?
No, they are not.
Even judiciary, they are supposed to have their budget is supposed to be ring-fenced, because we had the former presidencies after the elections were overturned by CJ Maraga. What did he say? He said we shall revisit. And what followed? We revisited. CJ Maraga would complain that we had given a proposal of 20 billion to cover our expenses for the judiciary. We have been given 18 billion. Why? It's because something had happened. So some institutions that are supposed to be independent, they are not really independent.
Theoretically they are, but practically they are not.
Practically they are not.
You were talking about two bills that we are about to pass. One that we are about to talk about, the Finance Act. The second one?
The Finance Act, the Appropriation Bill.
The Appropriation Bill.
And once it is passed, of course, we call it the Appropriation Act.
The Appropriation Act.
So that's now the manual that the Control of Budget uses when signing money out of consolidated funds account. So this consolidated act said we shall construct this Kimwarel and Arol dam. It was 200 billion. And we have money in the consolidated in the consolidated fund account. We allow. We said that the budget for education sector is 650 billion. And we need to release capitation for primary school, secondary school, public schools. We have money there in the consolidated fund account. So that's the checklist that the controller of budget uses before signing money out of the consolidated fund account. And this checklist, which is the Appropriation Act, has been approved by National Assembly.
So is the CFA account inside the CBK? The Central Bank
yes,
of
it is.
Kenya?
Yes.
So you're saying CBK cannot also advise on kugawanisha to branches?
They know.
We are learning. It's good we learn these things, so that these are the things we need to start questioning as a country. These are actually the things people need to be aware of. But back to this Eurobond. Since ndio imetuma hizi madhogodhanio zote we are experiencing. We took it to for the development of our infrastructure. So the roads, SGR, all these things. From where you are sitting, have we done a good job? And was SGR a major mistake?
It's a good question. But Lynn, if you can allow, you had said it's not a good thing for all the monies to be put together. Actually, there is something that is coming. There is something that the government has started, is calling a single treasury account. Single treasury account. What that means, if the government of Murang'a had opened a bank account with a certain commercial bank, the government is going to stop that, and all the monies for all the parastatals, for all the government bodies will be channeled in a single treasury account that will be stationed at CBK. What that means that because the government is pushing for visibility, and to some extent they have a point, but the question is, will they be able to take care of all those funds once these funds have been deposited there? Because the government is saying that we have maybe something like Kenya Ports Authority, we have maybe another parastatal of the government, including public universities. They are government entities. They have monies that they have banked with various commercial banks. And we are here as the central bank, as the national bank as the national government, trying to borrow money from the same commercial banks that has our money. You get.
Hapo wako na point. Hapo nita support. Why are we borrowing money and you have our money?
And you have our money.
So we go put our money in one central source, right?
Yes.
But then again, back to what we are saying. So what happens to devolution? What happens to devolution? I thought we went for devolution so that different counties, we have counties right now. But if you are saying we all bring our money there, then if me as the governor of maybe wherever, I need my money, governors don't have access to money. But you get what I'm saying. If my county needs money, how do you know what's my money there? Or there are systems to show this brought this county brought this county brought this county brought this.
Yeah, there will be systems.
Okay.
But now the problem is, you see, there are some commercial banks that have had huge sums of money. They have been holding huge sums of money on behalf of the government, and it is these huge sums of money that they have been lending out. So all of a sudden, they are...
The banks are about to collapse.
It's not...
Watalend nini sasa?
Yes.
So we are looking at the collapse of our banks as well.
Things are not looking up.
So what do we do?
So what
do you recommend?
Yeah, what I would recommend is, even if the government is coming up with very nice proposals, like that one, the way you are saying, I should not borrow money from commercial banks, and these commercial banks still have some money that belongs to me.
Lump sum.
That belongs to me, that has been deposited by my other organizations that are under me. But these proposals are good, but they should be implemented gradually. The way we say a baby is not born today and start running the same day. We start by doing baby steps.
So we learn our mistakes as we correct, as we perfect the process.
Slowly. Yes. Because if you now want to implement all of a sudden, then we are likely to collapse. Just like I understand, if someone comes from maybe a prison where he was not eating properly, or where he was being underfed, if that person comes back home and you feed him with so much food, the digestive system is not able to accommodate all that pressure, and you can end up killing that person. But you are doing something good.
Yes.
So the same way about the government, it should come, implement the policies are good, but gradually.
Wow.
But gradually.
All right. Back to my question.
Yes.
The developments,
Yes.
SGRs,
Yes.
expressway, all these things.
Yes.
How do you weigh them? Which one was a mistake and which one should have waited, and which
Yes.
one is of great benefit to our country from where you're sitting?
I wouldn't say there's any that was a mistake. Maybe the mode of financing is the one that was not a correct one.
Okay.
Because as we said, if we had an opportunity to borrow at a longer duration, instead of 10 years, we do that years. Why did we miss that opportunity? Why did we miss that opportunity? Because what we are saying, something like a SGR, it's a project that we will continue to reap benefits from for the next maybe even 50 years. So in finance, there's something that we call like a building like this. If you do a building, and we know like the many like Hilton,
Yes.
or even Thames Tower, those buildings they from accounting point of view, they are estimated to last about 50 years.
Yes.
And more, and many times they even exceed. So something like an infrastructure like SGR, I would use the same measure, the same metric to say if it is likely to give us service for about 50 years. Now, there is something in accounting that we talk about matching asset and liability. Matching assets and liability. That when these liabilities are maturing, you should match your assets to ensure that you will have enough assets to pay off this liability when it matures. What do I mean by that? Same thing that we had spoken about the Eurobond, that we knew very well we had a liability to pay after 10 years from 2014 to 2024. It is a liability.
Yes.
So we should have started to operate another asset account that will also mature by the time this liability is maturing. It's like Lynn, you could be having it's just an example. Someone has a child, and he knows that this child will go to university in 10 years time. So in 10 years time, you will have a liability to pay to take this child to university. So it's a liability. So you start building an asset account that will mature at the time that liability is coming to mature. You can take an insurance cover, and you take an insurance cover for 10 years. So, and you ensure the insurance cover will mature at the time the liability is maturing. So it's called asset liability matching. So the government has not been very keen in doing that, because if we say that we will enjoy SGR for the next 50 years, we should have said that we every other year we save about 2% of that project. So that 2% within 50 years, 2 times 50, it's 100. And that's when we should have said we will repay this Eurobond. We would not have felt any pressure. We would not have felt any pressure.
Too much pressure
A lot of pressure.
Hey.
Though I'm seeing the government continue to improve,
Yes.
because there are two things. There's the issue of treasury bills and treasury bonds.
Good.
Treasury bills are instruments that the government use to borrow in the short term, within a period of less than 12 months, and the government is reducing its borrowing using that instrument, and it is increasing its borrowing using treasury bonds. So that at the end of the day, the government will have some space to utilize that money it has borrowed. And we have seen some Eurobonds for 10 years, 15 years, 20, some treasury bonds for 10 years, 15 years, as opposed to the government borrowing money for 3 months. Then after 3 months, it's supposed to repay.
Yes.
After 6 months, maybe another treasury bill for 6 months or 9 months. So the government, what it should do, and I'm happy it is doing that, it is trying to reduce the amount of monies it is borrowing through treasury bills and actually pushing to borrow more on treasury bonds. But Kenyans are not Kenyans are very knowledgeable people, because whenever the government issues treasury bonds, local investors, they prefer to invest in treasury bills as opposed to treasury bonds. The government wants treasury bonds,
but you guys, you want
treasury bills, because you also don't trust the government. You want, because I don't know what will happen tomorrow, I just want to give you my money for 3 months, then give it back to me.
Yes.
Then I survey the situation. If it is okay, I will choose to give it back to you for another 3 months or 6 months. But the government says, and look, we cannot continue with that kind of a strategy. I want you to trust me and give me your money for 10 years. I will be paying you an attractive rate of return. And that's what is pushing the government to continue increasing the rate of return to up to 18%.
Okay, I have maybe what someone would say is a silly question. See, Eurobond also involves borrowing from individuals or something like that.
Yes.
So in Kenya, don't we have billionaires? Kwani we could not have borrowed from our local billionaires? Like, all we need is $1.5 billion.
Yes.
That's equivalent to how many billion Kenya shillings? It's $1.5 billion is how much in Kenya shillings?
In Kenya shillings, we can multiply by
the dollar 130.
By 130. It should come to around 250 billion.
Yes, so if 1.5 billion dollars is up or 200 billions plus Kenya shillings, couldn't the billionaires in this country have just given us that money through the treasury bonds?
Yes, it's a good question. But now you see, and that's why we have a problem, because many countries like Japan, and Japan, as we are saying, we are 70% indebted, that the ratio of debt to GDP is about 70%. The ratio of debt to GDP is about 70%. A country like Japan, it is over 200%.
Wow.
It's over 200%. But Japan, you will not hear that Japan is in debt distress like we find ourselves in. It's because actually Japan borrows heavily locally, and when they are paying interest rates, they are able to pay to the local investors, and the money remains here in that country. So they borrow locally, and they are able to also, once they pay, the money remains here. But now in our case, what is happening? First of all, we had the Eurobond we had borrowed externally, and the Eurobond is denominated in a currency other than the home currency.
Yes.
So we needed dollars. Our billionaires here could be billionaires based on the Kenyan currency. And for them to assist us with dollars, they would have exchanged their Kenyan currency. They buy dollars, because this Eurobond we need to repay in dollars. So what we need is dollars.
Oh, si tunawapea pesa yetu wakajichenjie.
Yes, no.
They gave us in dollars. So now I get it.
Yes.
Now I get it.
So we bought, we procured that loan facility in dollars, so we can only repay them in dollars. And the issue of Lynn, the issue of interest rates. Right now, the interest rates are at 13%, what we call CBR, central bank rate. It is at 13%. And I want to still answer the question why some people would say that the Kenyan currency is gaining against the USD. If the interest rate is at 13% and the exchange rate between USD and Kenya currency is 1:130, where we were a few months ago, before the Kenyan shilling depreciated to 160, that time the CBR rate was around 7.5%. So CBR rate was at 7.5%, and that time, about a year ago, the exchange rate was around 130.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Yes.
Right now, the exchange rate is at 130, but the CBR rate is 13%.
So it's too early to rejoice.
It is too early to rejoice. What would happen if today the CBR rate, and of course it is not a rate that is determined by market forces. It is a monetary policy committee, which is a branch of CBK, Central Bank of Kenya, that they sit down and analyze the situation, the economic situation prevailing in the country, and they say we need to increase CBR, we need to reduce it. But for instance, if they reduce it today to 7.5%, the dollar would go back to 160 or even worse. Because CBR, what CBR means, it's like the rate of return or the compensation that we are promising to pay you when you give us your money. You hear like the minimum wage,
Yes.
the one that every other Labor Day,
Yeah.
the Minister for Labor and Kotu, they say we have raised the minimum wage maybe for guards from 10,000 to 15,000. What that means that if you hire a guard, you cannot pay him less than 15,000, but you can pay more if you want.
Yes.
So the issue of CBR is now that in such a case, when it is at 13%, we are telling foreign investors that previously we were paying you at 10,000 for once you bring us your money. Now we are paying you at a rate of let's say 15,000. So they will come because the rate of payment is attractive.
Yes.
So 13% means foreigners, if they bring their money here in Kenya, they will be able to invest in our financial instruments, whether it is treasury bond. And that's why you will not get a treasury bond or a treasury bill that is paying a rate of return less than the CBR rate. If the CBR rate today is 13%, every other treasury bill or treasury bond that will be issued by the government, it has to be above 13%.
CBR.
And when the CBR rate is high,
Yes.
we are even attracting foreign investors to come and invest here in Kenya, buy those treasury bonds. So if by any chance we go back to 7% CBR, they will say, that rate of return haiwezi. So what will happen? The dollars that they were bringing, they will not bring.
Yes.
And once we have a shortage of dollars in terms of supply, then the Kenya shilling starts to depreciate. So that's very sensitive that the CBR right now is so high. It's so high. And it's the one we would say imeshikilia the exchange rate at that point. If the CBR goes down to 7%, then the shilling is so weak, it will not be able to support itself.
Okay. Can I take you back to the consolidated fund account?
Yes.
So I'm trying to understand $2 billion.
Yes.
Could we not have raised that in our own kikapu? Ama kwani, how much do we have in this kikapu if we can't raise $2 billion from there? Also, given that we pay really huge taxes, how? So what is our tax going?
Like for instance, what happens? The amount of dollars that we have in circulation is measured by something that is called the import cover. Import cover says that the dollars that we have in reserve, how many months can they be able to support our imports without adding more? And the prescribed rate or level is 4 months import cover. Right now, we are still under that recommended threshold. We are at around 3.9. So what that means, if we don't have enough dollars to finance our imports, and it's not the government that is importing.
Yes.
It could be a trader who imports cars. So for that person to import cars, he need money.
Like Maridadi Motors.
Yes, like Maridadi Motors. They need to convert Kenyan currency to dollars for them to be able to import.
Yes.
So that's the reserve that we are talking about. Even that one, it is constrained. Okay, so if we could use those reserves that we had to repay the dollar, to repay the Eurobond, then it means we would not even have funds to import critical goods like even medicine, even fuel. So that's why, by all means, because with time we are supposed to expand our dollar reserves. And we can only expand our dollar reserves by ensuring that we enhance our exports, like what we are doing, and what other content creators are doing, the ones that probably they have connection with Facebook, they are paid by Facebook, they are paid by Uber, all those people that are in one way or the other, they work with the multinational corporations. Or we do value addition for our agricultural produce so that we can be able to export. But right now, even exporting, we are not very competitive, because if a farmer is producing agricultural produce in an environment that is not very conducive in terms of cost of raw materials, then this farmer will not sell as much as the Ugandan farmer would sell, because the Ugandan farmer produce is cheaper compared to here. So unless now we enhance, and that's what I've been saying, that this movement of dollar from 160 to 130, it is not supported by fundamentals. The fundamentals to support that kind of a move, we would be saying that for the last 2 months, now we have increased our exports. So we are having now more dollar currency coming into the country.
And we're increasing our dollar reserve.
But unfortunately, that is the case. What is the case right now is we were able to avoid that imminent danger that was before us in terms of defaulting, paying that Eurobond.
What if we default?
No,
there are also consequences of defaulting.
The consequences of defaulting, they are so huge that what would have happened, you see, we were able to go to the international markets and get financing at a rate of 10%. If we had defaulted, the international markets would have, if at all they would have agreed, they would have increased the interest rate. They say we are not very confident with the Kenyan economy. We are only willing to give you money at a rate of, even say let's say 50%. So the credit rating will have deteriorated. And you know, there are three global institutions that measure credit ratings of a country, including of other institutions like commercial banks. We have Standard & Poor, we have Fitch, and we have JP Morgan.
Oh, SSP, Standard & Poor.
Yes, Standard & Poor.
That's what it means.
That's what it means.
Okay.
Standard
At least
Poor.
JP Morgan, I know.
You know, JP
the other
Morgan
one
is Fitch.
Fitch.
Yes,
okay.
is Fitch.
Yes.
So that they would have deteriorated our credit rating, and they are the ones that any investor worth his salt would consult first. I'm seeing a country called Kenya in Africa is
I'm seeing a country called Kenya
has floated a Eurobond.
Na venye tuko famous.
Really. Actually,
online we are very famous.
Yeah, we are very famous.
Yes, even on TikTok you find weird videos and you see who is here from Kenya. All of us are there. We are very famous.
But there's still confusion that some majority of non-Africans, they think Africa is a country.
Well, so they go and see where we are. They see, okay, I can trust this one, so I can trust this one.
So, in the event that we had defaulted, our credit rating would have gone so low that any investor would have said, this is a red flag. This is a red flag. So there were all. And the moment we are not able to continue getting dollar financing, even from World Bank and any other bilateral partner, then it will be a challenge for Kenya to continue importing critical services and critical products like drugs and even fuel. We had a situation like that in Sri Lanka. where the dollar reserves were depleted. They could not import fuel. You could see cars going to queue at the petrol stations, but there is no fuel. Drugs, it was a chaos. It was very chaotic. And I'm happy that the leadership of the country, the government did not allow the situation to escalate to that point.
Okay. Now, let me ask a question for majority of the people, because this is now when we go outside and have this conversation.
Yes.
Hii government inafanya kazi, hii government ifanyi kazi. So I'm looking at it from two perspectives, right? You have a government here that left this government in debt.
Yes.
Then you have this government being told ifanyi kitu.
Yes.
What do you have to say? Because sawa lipe loan yenye si yao, tena wafanyi kazi, tena waliachiwa loan. I don't know. What do you have to say?
Yes, I would say it is true. We really borrowed heavily during the previous regime.
Yes.
We borrowed heavily. And whenever, Lynn, you borrow heavily, what happens is that you start consuming more than you are producing. It's like someone who is earning 10,000, but he has borrowed 10,000.
Yes.
So right now this person has 20,000. So this person, if you could not have afforded something for 15,000,
now you can afford it.
You can afford it. But no, whenever you borrow, whenever you are using that money, you are using money from the future.
Yeah.
So during those, I would say, Uhuru years, we borrowed heavily.
Yes.
Even if we were doing infrastructure, what that meant is that we were consuming more than we were producing. Okay?
Yes.
That is the phase of borrowing. Now, when it comes to the phase of repaying, where we are, now you are consuming less than you are producing. Because once you produce, part of it goes to repay the loan, so you have to consume less. And now that's where we are feeling the pain. During Uhuru years, we were consuming more than we were producing, because assuming we are producing 10,000, we could borrow another 10,000, so we feel it is 20,000. And even the economy would feel it, because there was money in circulation, projects were being done, the roads, the SGR, everything was okay. Even the banking sector, the economy was doing very well. But now, when it comes to repaying, now that point, you are consuming less than you are producing.
Wow. Because
now you are repaying.
Yes. Huh?
And the issue, I would want to tackle the issue of maybe the question is, why can't we print more money?
But I thought that was going to be too silly to ask. So we print our own money?
Yes.
Why can't we print our own money?
It's a good question.
Aurora is always interested in that. Yes, why can't we print our own money?
Actually, printing our own money is not a bad idea. And we can print money to prosperity. Because what that means, as long as our economy is not at full capacity, is not operating at full capacity, maybe we say it's only 20% of Kenyans are employed. The other 80% are unemployed. And the government prints more money. And when it prints more money, it employs these other 80% that were not previously employed, whether in agricultural sector, whether we build factories. And once we do that, we increase our productivity. And once we increase our productivity, we will now be able to export. The only time it is very wrong to print more monies is when the economy is at full capacity. Because assuming all of us are employed,
which we are not.
Let's assume we are employed.
Yes.
Let's assume, for the sake of...
I would love to be in your class. Let's assume for the sake of understanding.
For the sake of understanding,
yes.
All of us are employed.
Yeah.
And then the country prints more money. When we are operating at optimum capacity, we have goods and services, that are that are in balance with the amount of with the money supply that is in circulation. Goods and services and the money supply that is in circulation, we are in balance.
Yes.
So if we are at optimal capacity in terms of the economy, if we print more money and we are not able to increase production, so we'll have more money chasing few goods because we have not been able to enhance production because we are already at full capacity. So that would cause inflation, where we say that too much money chasing a few goods and services. But if we are not at full capacity at full capacity, we are maybe at 20% in terms of, let me say, employment, and we print more money, and this more money will increase the productivity, the quantity and the quality of goods and services in the market, we are good to go.
Because look at it this way. I do agriculture shows also. Now we call them agribusiness. We are moving away from the culture in agriculture. So you go out there, you do a story on pixie farming. You have a whole region who are planting pixies and they are beautiful. Lakini can you mangoes, everything. But can you the sadness, knowing all of them will spoil in the farm. Why? Because there is no local factory there that can do value addition. There is no, and we have huge government lands here where you can build a factory, do the value add from there, export these things. You come here again. I know, like, for example, we did a story with Wambogo apples. They have actually just planted Wambogo apples, 30 acres in Eldoret University. No, in Moi University in Eldoret. And there are so many acres there that are not being used. Can you imagine if we were to do like a whole 1,000 acres of Wambogo apple? Package it. Mi sijuangi ni nini na kuanga serious sana. Ni nini serious na kutengenezea watu makampuni. Print more money. We buy the wood, what we can. Because these things, they don't even require a lot of, it's just packaging, quality control, import. We are doing Hass avocado right now. Hass avocado is very valuable to the outside market. That's true. But even here in Kenya, hakuna mwelekeo. Look at our coffee. We did a story on coffee. We can do value Karunguru farm here. There's a very beautiful coffee farm here called Karunguru farm. They are doing coffee. They are trying to do value. Guys, go order online their coffee. Let's just do that for them. But they are doing value add in their own homes. Because as what we give out there is the gold that we have here. So why can't we do value add in our own home and then do what? Nini ukuwa serious watu wafikiriangi hivyo, like what is so serious in our governments that such simple things will never come to fruition. We take so much time and time is going. The rate of unemployment in this place is crazy.
It's crazy.
The rate of young people who don't have you had the conversation? You deal with a lot of young people at Riara University and Cooperative University. Have you not had some asking you tutaenda wapi after here? Sure. Look at all these young people that we have. So me, I say we go print the money. We do these factories. We try do value add in our own country. And then we increase our productivity. We export. We get our money. And we... Misionangi life ikiwa serious. Why do we complicate life?
I think it's... I would blame it to politicians. Because they really, it is not the advantage that every other person
empower
is empowered.
Ourselves.
Yes, because they would want every other time they pass in a certain village or town,
people worship them.
Yes, they are able to pull that mammoth kind of a crowd. But when people are independent, they feel that will not be the case.
You know what is sad? We went to, we've done a couple of stories that have not aired. We just interviewed Ted Josiah of Joka Joke, the leather bag. It's leather mwalimu iko hapa na sisi. We can do the bags. outside international market,
Yes.
they are buying that bag like crazy.
Yes.
Please tell me why our forces, government forces, will not hold hands with someone like Ted Josiah so that we start one whole crazy leather factory where we can make classy products like what he's doing at Jokajok. And you can see the demand in the international market is there. But
Wow. He's not getting support.
He will not get support. He'll not get support. But me, I love Kenyans are waking up because we can't keep worshipping politicians.
For sure.
Me, I deal with young people. Even here, you can see them. Very young people.
That's true.
But ukiangalia,
congratulations.
yes, ukiangalia, it's hard. It's very hard.
It's very
me,
hard.
I'm for value addition.
For value addition.
Us doing value addition right here. We cannot continue exporting the best that we have. Then it's imported back to us. Instant coffees, I don't know whichever brand. Why are we not storing our own coffee? I've been to several hotels. Maybe when you're going for a vacation or getaway or whatever. And there's this thing that is really annoying me. You find at the side there, and anyone who is watching can be able to, the sachets. No local Kenyan sugar. No local coffee, maybe ketepati to balance only. And play with your psychology. Then the rest are imported brands here in Kenya. People we've exported the best, they've imported back, and that kuna shida lakini sasa hata mimi sitaki kusaidia tena.
And I think we are also to blame, you and me, because when you are driving your car, the main petrol stations that we usually fuel from, all of them, they are multinational brands. But you will see another Kamau petrol station, you will say...
which one is Kenya? I pull up there. I don't know what Kenyan one is. Ruby's Kenya?
It is not.
Is Total Kenya?
It is not.
Shell, is it Kenya?
It is not.
So which one is Kenyan? We go there.
Something like Astro.
Astro is Kenya?
It's Kenya.
Oh, okay.
And actually I'm also referring to the small ones. You know, there are many other small fuel people, traders. But the problem is because also even Kenyans, they need also to learn that sometimes they also damage their own reputation. Because you can go fuel in some petrol stations only for your car to malfunction after some time.
Fuel, people doubt the quality. Because it's very sensitive.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also heard if fuel is the same, to brand you're different.
Brand you're different, yeah, for sure.
Brand, lakini.
Yes, if all players they do it the right way, they don't become greedy and start adulterating the fuel. But of course, there are those Kenyan-based fuel outlets that are genuine. But any person, most people, they will avoid going there. So we have been brainwashed by these multinational brands. And I would refer to it as neocolonialism. Neocolonialism.
Call it as it is. You know, even food chains. We have very beautiful local outlets here, but you'll see how I am for Buy Kenya, support Kenya,
build Kenya.
You know, Buy Kenya, support Kenya, build Kenya. We are making very beautiful things.
That's true.
And we don't have to wait for people outside to acknowledge we have nice coffee. Sasa kaa kitu kaa coffee sincerely. Why are we not doing value add right here? Lakini as you said, it's a game of politics. But we are learning. We are learning.
That's true.
Now, in preparation for June, when we need to pay money, what do we do? Do we hold the dollars we have and wait? In precautions, what should people do now?
I would actually, it is illegal to hold
dollars.
It is illegal. Yes.
To which limit?
To which limit? It is. But the situation is very complicated. That. The way where we are in terms of the exchange rate, the strength of the Kenyan currency, it is supported by the CBR. The way you are saying that and you see inflation has come down. But the reason why the CBR was pushed to 13% is because inflation had persisted. So we moved from 7%. I don't know whether I can maybe expound why how interest rate
Yes.
actually manages inflation in the economy. That when inflation starts to go up, the government assumes that there's a lot of money circulating in the economy. So they decide to raise the CBR, central bank rate. And what central bank rate means that commercial banks are advised by CBK not to lend any money at a rate lower than 13%. So they make borrowing costly and expensive. And by making borrowing more costly and expensive, they also making saving attractive. Because now the bank, if initially they were giving a rate of return for savings at 3% when CBR was 7%, now CBR has gone to 13%. They will also raise the rate of return for savings. So they encourage people to save. Whenever CBR goes up, people are encouraged to save, and they are discouraged from borrowing. So inflation comes down because people are not borrowing, but they are saving. So inflation comes down. So right now we are at 13%. And the reason why we went at 13% in the first place is because inflation had gone to 9%. Right now, according to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and the information from Treasury, it is inflation has reduced to about 5.8%. So we need to bring down the CBR so that now inflation can reduce. But now that's where we are saying the government is not very keen in reducing the CBR, because once it reduces the CBR from 13% maybe to 7%, the exchange rate will worsen. Because foreign investors, even people are coming to invest here in Kenya, especially in government bonds, because the rate of return is very high. You see, we move from CBR of 13% to 7%. Even the rate of return of bonds that the government, for subsequent issuance of bonds, should come from 18% to around 13%. But are people willing to lend the government at 13%? If not, the government may want to avoid reducing the CBR, because if it reduces, it will struggle to borrow locally. And the policy that the government is pursuing currently is to borrow more locally and less externally. So so we are likely to see, and Lynn, today, if the CBK wants the exchange rate of Kenya currency against the dollar to move from 130 to 120, they can. What they borrow. No, not to borrow. All they need to do is again to push the CBR from 13% to 17%. So we'll see many foreign investors coming to invest here in Kenya because they are promised a better rate of return.
Sounds good though.
No.
Middle class. That means we don't borrow though.
What that would mean is that that's now what we refer as crowding out the private sector. That even people who would have ordinarily put their money in the banks, and banks are just a mediator. They mediate the savers and investors. People who want to borrow, savers and borrowers. People who want to save, they come to the bank. People who want to borrow, they come to the bank. Now, if the government is paying attractive rate of return for people who are buying treasury bonds, bank will not get money to give to borrowers. So we will have a credit crunch.
I get it.
And the private sector will be constrained. And we'll start having companies closing shops. Companies reducing their production. And once they do that, the rate of unemployment increases. Then we go to deflation, we go to recession, and the country can easily slide to even depression.
Kaput.
Yes.
Kaput. We won't get there.
We won't get there.
If we do value adds, I think we are in the right
Yes, yes,
We're
yes.
in the right direction.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I don't know if you want to add anything, feel free.
Yes.
Hii class haina mbio. Yes, feel free.
Yes.
But honestly, for me, I think I've understood more than I've ever understood since I was born when it comes to loans, Eurobond.
Yes.
All these things are things we hear. Government imechukua pesa, hivi na hivi. But I am, I'm so grateful you've broken it down to us
Yes.
in a very layman's language. But here we don't just let people go like that, because I know our audience will have a couple of questions and they might want you back to talk to us about other things. So what would you come and talk to us about? What do you think are some of the things we need to be aware of from where you are sitting? Yes.
I think that's a very good question, Lynn. And one of the things that I would want people to understand that there is an undergoing program by the government where they are forgiving all people with KRA penalties as long as you clear any outstanding principal tax with KRA. So it goes like this.
Okay.
Maybe you did some for many traders, for people who are in business, they are supposed to pay taxes in one way or the other, probably like VAT, like pay as you earn. So what happens, like if it is VAT, I'm the seller, you are the buyer. If I sell something to you, I will sell it inclusive of VAT.
Yes.
So what happens, I will give you an ETR generated receipt.
Yes.
So you will, when you are filing your VAT returns as the buyer, you will mention my PIN and you say you bought something from me.
You.
So KRA will be expecting me to remit some taxes to them.
Yes.
But I don't. So if I fail, KRA will consider that as a principal tax that I owe them.
Okay.
And as long as I don't pay that principal tax, it will continue to accumulate penalties.
Good.
So KRA is saying for business people who find themselves in such a situation, just pay the principal tax that you are supposed to pay from the word go.
Yes.
Then we will forgive you all these penalties.
Wow.
Yes.
That's ongoing.
That is ongoing, and it is closing by 30th June this year.
Wow. Kimbieni. It doesn't matter how much you have in penalties.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a client I was interacting with yesterday. He's if again there's penalties that some people that you are charged or you are penalized by the government if you don't file taxes. If that year if that year or that month you did not generate any income, you are supposed to file nil returns to just say, I did not do any business that month. So if you are registered, if your PIN is registered for VAT, every other month that you don't file even nil returns, you are penalized 10,000. So I had a case where someone since 2015, that's when the PIN was registered for VAT. So every month, 10,000. A whole year, 120,000. For about 5 years, it's about 600,000.
Yes.
The government is willing to forgive you that as long as you file those nil returns. Then the waiver, that forgiveness of penalty takes effect automatically.
Wow.
And it's good because there are many young people that are unable to comply with Chapter 6 of the Constitution, where you are asked for good conduct, tax compliance certificate. And because of these penalties, you cannot be able to participate in interviews because you don't have that document.
Yes.
So it is a high chance for them to ensure that they take advantage of the ongoing waiver period. They apply, they are given, they get tax compliance, and from there they can be able to do as much as they can.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Go, my people, and then go. Let them go and
Yes.
Let them go afanye by June. End of June.
By end of June.
By end of June.
Yes.
Okay. That's beautiful.
So as you had said, coming back, maybe after the budget has been read, if I can have a session to break down the tax changes that will come with the new budget.
All right.
Because every other time the budget is read, there are many changes that happen in the tax regime, like after the budget was read last year in June. housing levy was introduced. Then the pay-as-you-earn tax band was expanded from 30% to 35%. And these are the things that any person who is in business would need to know on a timely basis to avoid incurring penalties.
Yeah, that one we will have. That's a conversation I would also be interested in. But thank you so much.
Yes.
Maybe for the people who are watching you, because I would also want my people to come to you.
Yes.
Maybe for those who would want you to guide them further, who would want to consult with you further, how can they best find you?
Thank you very much, Lynn. We have an office along Thika Road at Homeland, in a building called Blessed House that is directly opposite Garden City Mall.
Okay.
We are on ground floor, and the name of the company is Minor Kamau and Associates. We are CPA. We are CPA. Dr. Minor Kamau and Associates CPA.
Okay.
We offer auditing services, tax services for an entrepreneur or a tenderpreneur who wants to maybe to get to apply for a tender. They are usually asked for financial statements, so we prepare for them. For someone who wants to take a loan facility, we prepare financial statements for them. If the bank, because the bank would want to know how is what is your financial position. So as accredited accountants, we do that.
Okay.
So the number that someone can reach at us through is 0728 521159.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You want to repeat it again?
Yes. 0728 521159.
Good.
Yes.
I know they will come. Please take good care of my people.
Yes, I will.
I know si rahisi, and I always say, for me, I'm a huge fan of have your books in order. I think what our managing director here at LNN keeps insisting is we gotta have our books
in order,
which is very crucial for business and even for individuals. It's very important. But I have really loved this conversation.
Thank you very
I've
much.
asked all the questions I've always wanted to ask, and I'm glad they have been answered and covered by someone like you. I must commend you. You're very easy to listen to.
Thank you
That's
very
why
much,
now I know your students. They really appreciate. I hope they treasure what they have in front of them, because unaweza elezea mtu kitu kama mtoto mpaka elewe. And now I can say for the first time I've understood Eurobond. I've understood it completely. A word that has been going on. By the jokes aside, in another life, wanted to do economics. Kanipita. Tukapitana nayo hivi na hivi, but maybe one day, I don't know, but maybe one day. I'll get to it. I appreciate you for coming, and I hope, as I said, our people also get to interact with you. And also for you guys, if you are watching at home, love the feedback that you guys are giving us when it comes to this conversation. I said it's the year of us rebuilding our finances. It's the year of us rebuilding everything, and this is something we cannot be able or afford to leave behind, because we cannot act as if these things are not going to influence our decisions one way or another. Let me know your thoughts on the comment section. If you want again to interact with our guest today, the contact details, including the location details, are on your screen right now, and they will also be pinned on the comment section. Please tell me how, kama mmeelewa, kama mjaelewa, what else would you want him to come and talk to us about, apart from that promising conversation he has said he'll talk to us about. Let me know, what else do you think he can be able to help us cover on the show. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you so much to our amazing partners, Optiv and Maridadi. Continue walking through this journey with us. And for my people in Australia, we're gonna see you guys in 2 weeks time. Continue submitting your stories, info@lnn.digital. And also, if you're watching this from diaspora and you have had questions about investing back at home, what can benefit you, what can't benefit you, let me also know on the comment section, so that I can also get to ask him when we sit on our next conversation. So I'm gonna see you again tomorrow 10 a.m. Bye-bye.